Welcome back to another JDMKE episode. I'm here today on the computer and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the numbers that we measured in the previous video. For this example here, I'm going to use the measurements that we took from the stock cams. I did manage to find a deal and upgraded to aftermarket cams. I got a great set of GSC S1 cams for a VVTi 2J. Got a really good deal on it. So I came across that and that did switch up my numbers, but I have a great example. If you want to do these calculations on your own, what you would need to do. So I will have another option as well listed because there's an incredible resource that I want to show you guys. But first, I'm going to show you how to calculate it on your own so you can figure this out. So over here, we have the measurements that I took with Sam, and we have all of our clearances between the bucket and the cam itself. This is with the stock cams. These are the intake and exhaust numbers. On this side of the screen, we've got our bucket measurements. I mentioned it in the last video, but very crucial to clean them out, pop those shims off, get under there, get all the oil, the carbon, everything, so you can get these consistent measurements. These buckets were never in the head that we were measuring them with. They were from my non-VVTi head, and they were just the buckets that I had. So these were all just things we didn't know the size of, we needed to take measurements of, but we got great consistent measurements after we cleaned them. So would strongly recommend that. So these are the measurements we took with the micrometer, all three here for each bucket. So I'll show you what we're going to do in Excel to add these all in. So these numbers here are clearance numbers. I've got them over here in the Excel sheet. So this first column is just copying over those numbers of the clearance between the ham and the bucket. The next column you'll see over here, this is just copying over my numbers for the bucket measurements that we made. In this situation, this is the intake side. So I copied all three measurements. I created a formula, or should I say just copied a formula, but put in a formula to give me the average bucket size. Now this column here stays the same. This was what I was shooting for clearance. So if you compare this to this is our current clearance. This is the clearance we want. So what you'll notice here, I have a difference column as well, that shows us the difference between the two. But right now we are like under spec, which means that we want to add shim thickness in order to get to the middle of this stock intake cam spec. So what we want to do is we want to take our current measurement of our clearance and we want to calculate the difference, because the difference is what we're going to need to, in this situation, when we're under spec, add to our bucket size. Because we know that with our current bucket, this is our current clearance. So we need this column here that calculates the difference. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take this difference, you're going to want to add it, like I said, because we want to increase shim thickness. So the difference between our spec and this 0.152 is 0.048. So we're going to add 0.048 to our current bucket size, and that gives us 5.333. Then what we need to do is we need to go to shim sizing. So a great resource that I found for this is that the PHR website, I'll pull that up. It's got the Shimless buckets all sized. It tells you all of the sizes, and then when you click on any of them, it gives you a part number right here. So that part number that you can get from there is super helpful because all you have to do is take your measurements that you made and then find the closest shim size, because these only go in even increments. So you need to get as close to this number as possible. Um, and that's made very easy with that PHR website. So I have listed here all of the bucket sizes that I would need. So that's kind of how you do the math. And that's if you want to do it manually. That was how I did this, ran the whole thing through, and here's that clearance right here that I have listed. So this was the very rudimentary sheet that I made. And I have to say, I came across an absolutely incredible resource the second time around when I did this, because after purchasing my cams, I knew that I needed to redo this entire math. I ended up finding a video on YouTube, of course, from Legit Racecraft. And in the description of this video, this is a very long, very detailed video. He did an incredible job. He talks about using going to the junkyard, getting used buckets, if you really want to save some money. But more importantly, he has a an insanely comprehensive uh, spreadsheet that was incredible. So here is an example. I just took a picture of my setup. I took all my measurements, and what happens is you enter in your clearance, your measure, your this is your the spec for your cams. So this is the spec for the GSC S1 cams for the intake side. You enter in your shim size, and this does all of the work left over. So it tells you part numbers, it tells you the actual clearance, it tells you it's an incredible sheet that this guy has made. It saves so much time because I spent a lot of time doing it the other way. Um, so I mean, my recommendation would be to kind of use a combination of the two. I didn't feel comfortable just punching it in here and only doing this way. So I kind of went between the two and did it this way, then calculated it on my own. And I have to say that I came up with the same numbers. So once you take those numbers that you get, you can then go to, however you want to order your buckets. Um, One of the things that caught me up, you can go here, they're 20 bucks a piece. You need 24 of them. I mean, it adds up pretty quickly. If you want to try ordering from like Amayama, it's been kind of different because of issues with tariffs and whatnot if you're in the United States. I ended up having to wait a very, very long time. So that was kind of an issue that I had because I ordered them from Japan. I ended up paying a I paid $7 per bucket. Um, that was shipped and with tariffs. So I paid like $7 times 24. So this conversion can be as cheap as like, $170 if you get all the numbers right on the first run, which if you use that sheet, um, that spreadsheet that Legit Racecraft set up, I think it could definitely work on your first run. But if there's a few you need, if something doesn't measure out quite right, then you can just order a couple supplemental ones. So that's kind of the general process with the calculations and how that works. If there are any questions, you can definitely drop questions in the comments. But I'm going to go back now and give you an idea of what it's like to install the buckets and take measurements again and show you kind of the final process wrapping up this whole installation and conversion.
Okay, so one of the things that you need to check when putting in these cams, these GSC S1 cams, is there's a clearance between the cam lobe and the head casting. So I'll take you over here. So if you take a look on maybe this side, right here where you see this notch, that's where we need to make sure that we have 20 thousandths.
Right there.
Yeah, right there. So that's the spot where we need to make sure that we have clearance so that it's not contacting the head, obviously. I've heard that there are some inconsistencies with these heads in the casting that can cause interference issues, but also it's something that it says with larger cams, like when you start getting big boy cams, not,
Yeah.
this is like the first state. I hate, all right, side note here, I have to say this because that's the name of the product, but these are GSC S1 Stage 1 cams, which irritates me because I hate car stage crap.
Adam, this whole build is a stage 1 build.
No, because
I mean, parts
I'm
of it are
downpipe.
stage 2. All right, you're
No,
right.
because
That's technically stage 2.
Tune, downpipe. I'm like stage 3 plus. Anyway. But anyway,
So it's a stage 3 build.
This is definitely a stage 3 build.
But you got stage 1 cams.
But yeah, so anyway. The last part is just determining this head clearance part. Other than that, I think we're good to go. So Sam and I are going to go through, measure this, and make sure as I rotate the cam that we're not coming in contact with the shim, which is, I think, going to be very difficult to do because the bucket's kind of in the way. The bucket goes up and down. I don't know. It's going to be pretty tricky, but...
Yeah, I don't think... Because these aren't super high lift cams.
Yeah.
So they don't have like a giant lobe.
Yeah. We're going to go around, make sure that this is good, which I think it is, and go from there.
If the clearance was... I mean, you can see it. You know, there's a ton of room. If it was tighter than that, you wouldn't be able to touch the bucket.
Okay. He's licking his lips, trying to get payback. We're going to listen to a fucking deal go down over here. Somebody's going to get clipped.
Somebody's going to be sleeping with the fishes. Go a little bit more.
Damn, yeah. It's so hard to like.
I know. Yeah, I guess. I mean, that is pretty close over there. The Adam Papadakis over here. Okay, you know what? Actually, I think it's okay. I think what we're hitting is the bucket itself. So
you want me to pop it back up? Here, back this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, okay.
And ready?
Yeah. Try and go slow. I know it's tough because you're...
Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and go slow.
Okay. Yeah, it clears.
Okay.
The resistance we were running into was hitting the bucket. There we go. Okay, so you can kind of see this edge is what we're measuring. You can see where the hole is right at the edge of the feeler gauge right there, where the bucket will move up and down. And so obviously the edge of the feeler gauge can't go past that because it's either going to be in the way of the bucket. Like right now it's on top of the bucket. When the bucket's not being pushed down by the lobe, it sticks up out of that hole a little bit. So what I'm going to do is keep the feeler gauge.
I'm going to come back with it.
Right on the edge of this hole. And make sure that... Okay.
Okay.
So I'm underneath it. No, go the other way again.
Yeah. Okay.
So there.
Let me go back.
So again. When it pushed forward a little bit, I'm putting a little bit of pressure on there just to make sure it stays in place, but as soon as the bucket moves, the whole thing moves. So yeah, come back again. Keep it right there. And there. So the lobe went right over it. Right over the feeler gauge, didn't move the gauge at all. Didn't push back on it.
Okay, but I'm happy with that test. I feel like it works well on this back one because you can see the side of it. I'm like feeling good about the cams, feeling good about the clearance from the head to the cams. And now we're just going to wait for buckets and then redo every single measurement over again.
Yep.
All right, so after waiting an absolute eternity, I have finally received the Shimless buckets. I was part of something called an intensive exam with U.S. Customs. That was a fun new learning curve. So a lot of firsts with what's going on around the globe here. But this took a long, long time. Took about a month and a half for this to get to me. I ordered it from Japan, which is where I order most of my parts because it's a better deal. So I paid for 41 buckets. I know there's only 24, but I had first measured this out for the stock cams, and as a result of finding this deal on these GSC S1 cams, I pivoted and went with the these GSC cams, took all new measurements, then I ordered more buckets. So I had some that I had already ordered that fit the bill, so I didn't have to get 48 of them, but I got 41 of them. And so it was about $240 for the buckets. For 41 of them, I paid around $7, I think, because I had to pay another $54 in tariffs. So that was super cool. But still, from a dealer here in the United States, the buckets are between like $22 and $25 a piece. So I mean, that's like literally half the cost. But anyway, happy to just finally have them, and I'm excited to finally get them in. I was so excited that I started just tearing into this thing. I'm going to get to removing all these, then I'm going to pop the new ones in. I have a little cheat sheet over here, and I'll pop a picture up when I get to the point of reinstalling them. But I have all the part numbers. They're all labeled by part number, so I should be able to just kind of grab them out of there, pop them in. I got to put a little oil or assembly lube on them so that they'll glide nicely, but should be all I have to do. So I've got my container to keep everything organized. So I've got my little magnet here. Just go like this, boom, and that comes right out of there. So that's really nice. So here is the copy of the sheet that I have. This is just a section of that Excel sheet. So I should be able to just follow this, and then, the worst part's gonna be picking through this bin, but I'm gonna take a look at this, throw them in there, and then see what we wind up with. So number one, I've got 1375146,250. So now I'm just gonna be digging through here basically. 1375146,250. That's what I've got for one, and that's this part here. And I need this here. I gotta lubricate this a little bit.
Another really important thing that I wanted to mention while you're doing this is that all of the buckets are numbered as well. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Oh, there you go. So you can see that number just right in there on the bottom. So what that refers to is the last two digits on the shim size, like on the PHR website. If the shim ends in 0.38, that means that that bucket number would be 38. So that's a good way to check your work to make sure. I mean, it's a part number from a Toyota dealership, so it should all line up, but good double check to make just so that you're putting the correct buckets in. You're going to measure it anyway too, so whatever, but just so that people know. And if people want to find these in junkyards and things like that, it's a really easy way to find the ones you need.
Okay. All right. This is going to be messy, but you know what? It's going to be great. So, like I said, I'm just going to keep going down the list. All right, so I'm not going to show this whole thing, but I'm just following the part numbers down, getting them all in, and then I'll get back with you guys after I have them all in and we're ready to measure again, because I think you kind of get the process here. Okay, so here is the exhaust side. I've got all the shimless buckets in place, and the intake side is done as well. I have gotten all the buckets in place and I made my measurements. Now I'm getting them inspected by a real mechanic, not a mechanic like myself. And I mean, it's a mechanic with a goatee as well. So I think that is important. You know? But yeah, so we're gonna just take a quick look. Sam's gonna run through here. We've got a separate sheet of paper. I've got my measurements. We're gonna compare it to his measurements and see if we find anything out of spec for the new GSC S1 cams. So we're gonna take a look at that now, do some final measurements, and hopefully our measurements coincide here.
We'll start with 13.
But so far, Sam did the exhaust side. Sam?
Good.
Good.
It's like almost straight down the middle on everything.
This guy right
all
here.
within spec, and almost all of them are perfectly in the middle of spec, which is sweet.
Yeah, that's what we want. Sam made an incredible discovery that if you use a ratchet to turn the cam, it's a lot easier than using the belt. So if you're doing this job and you're not stupid like me, you should use the bolt that's right there to turn it. Sam finished his measurements, and what is the verdict, Swammy?
Everything's in spec.
Nice.
Looks really good. And again, even with the intake, most of it is right in the middle. Well, we got to do the big reveal now.
What's the big reveal?
We got to compare your numbers to mine.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah, we'll see if I was way off. Well, I mean, both of us determined they were in spec.
Yeah, you were happy with your measurements anyway, so it's got to be close.
I felt pretty confident. So we'll compare. We'll put them up on the screen, both of them, and see what Sam measured versus what I measured. But I was happy with the spec. Sam sounds like he's happy with the spec, and I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah.
So now the amazing thing about this is that this is it for all this internal engine stuff. Thanks for watching. It's been a while, but we've been just waiting for stuff.
Yeah.
We will now go forward with all the fun new aftermarket parts, final fitment for all of that stuff, and getting it all in place.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you on the next one.